I don't wait for anyone to serve me. And I've realized also that the good things of life is not served free. Hello there, my name is Pastor Tola, Odutola. I pastor Jesus House Baltimore. This is my story. The day Antana died, I was shocked. I was in my living room, and because he was a Muslim, they wanted to bury him the Muslim way. Somebody had called me like 2 days before, or a week before, and I spoke with him. I said he was in the hospital, So they needed some money, so I sent some money to him. I said, oh, pay this bill, do this, that. I said, so 2 days before he passed, then there were 2 phone calls. But I just couldn't pick up the calls, I couldn't pick up the call. And I think at that time, the family knew it was about to pass, and they wanted to talk to me. So I couldn't pick up the call. Then I was sitting down with my other uncle. I will tell the story later as we go on. And that one said, so I said, this is Antana's phone again. So I was telling him I missed his call 2 days ago. So I picked up, and it was his daughter. I've never met that daughter up to now. You understand? My relationship was just with Antana. I didn't know any of his children.
How come did you ever think to go out to meet his family, or?
I did, but it's very complicated, because his children had grown up, I know I'm much older than them, do you understand? But they had grown up and they had gone to their various families, and all that. They have their own families. Then I had also been in America for 30 years, so so there was just no way to meet with, the children. And the daughter said, oh, my dad just passed this morning. I said, oh. I got a call today. She said, yes, she was the one calling me 2 days ago. That one. Oh, boy. So I said, so what's going to happen? They said, right now they're on their way to bury him. Antana just left like that, because I've come to love him, and, he treated me like a friend. He didn't treat me like an uncle. He treated me like a friend, I could talk to Antana any time. He calls the church office, in America, and he tells them, they will say, who is calling? They say, tell him that Antana called. And when my secretary tells me that somebody called from Nigeria and said it's Antana, I'll just be laughing. I say, I hope the man did not harass you too much, because Antana will harass anybody. He will just be yapping you, and that's just who he was, And I loved him, But enough of Antana. And that's how the issue of, my dad not being able to get the money. So eventually, I got admitted into a secondary school. It was called Baptist Grammar School, in Ibadan. And I spent 1 year in that school. I never liked the school. I never, I think I was part of the second set of the school. So there were a lot of things I'm sure that school is huge and whatever now. Do you understand? I think it was late 1971, so, but eventually I left the school. So I got admitted into Loyola College. Okay. At Loyola College, very interesting because I remember one of my first experience, in Loyola. We had sat for the exam. I think I wrote this in my book. Was it Line Crossers or one of those books? We had sat for the exam, and I passed. And then we were all told to stay outside in front of the school And then the principal of the school then, or there was a vice principal, one of these guys, said, oh, if you are from Mary Hill Convent School, there's this school called Mary Hill. Mary Hill was a huge, school in Ibadan, elementary school. A lot of my siblings went there. Okay. You understand? Fee-paying school. It's food for middle and upper class. So you go to the left from Mary Hill. So quite a few people went to the left, and the man looked at them and said, "You're all admitted into Loyola." We had done the written exam, so all the people that were there were the ones who passed the written exam. So wow. As far as I'm concerned, we were all equal. But I realized that day that we are not all equal. You understand? So, and I think it's because they felt the number of those that passed was more than the number of students they wanted to take in. So they had to find a way to weed people. So now it's no longer about academics, it has to do with maybe your connections or so. So the next thing the vice principal said was that if you are a Catholic, move this side. Now Loyola is a Catholic school.
Okay.
So I looked and I saw that my chances were dimming. I just went after the Catholic. And I just went there. And I don't know what happened. I'm telling you, there was a white man, I think it was the principal. He looked at me. He just came to me. He said, "Are you a Catholic?" I said, "Yes." He said, "What's your Catholic name?" "But your baptismal name." In the morning, before we did the exams, we had gone to the chapel for prayer. I read things a lot. I'm always aware of my surroundings. So I've looked at the walls of the church and I saw St. Benedict on one of the walls. So when the man said, "What's your baptism?" I said, "My name is Benedict." That's how I became Benedict.
Wow.
So the man said, "Really?" I said, so the man said, "Okay." So then they now started sorting out the other people. So when I got home, I told my mom. My mom said, "Why would you lie?" I said, "I had passed the exam now, what happened?" I said, "They probably will never take me because to be a Muslim, you will be on the last batch. And you are a Muslim." So I said, "I can't be on the last batch because they were looking for maybe 25 or 28 or 30 people. And when I looked at how many we can't be less than 60 people or something like I said, it's not going to happen." I said, so from that's how I joined.
Where did you get that go-getter mentality that regardless, whatever happens, I'm going for this?
There are some things that people don't teach you that life teaches you. My experience at the principal's house is called life because you have to survive. You have to fight to survive. Let me back off a bit. I didn't say this earlier. My dad had 9 children.
Okay.
My mom also had 9 children. So that's 18. So I have 17 siblings.
Wow.
Both to my right and to my left. But there is no sibling of mine that I share the same dad and the same mom with. So out of the 18, I'm just like this. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I knew that my life is not in anybody's hands. It's in my hand. Now I know it's also in God's hand. At that time, because I wasn't a believer, there was not so much God there.
Yeah.
There could be religion there, but there wasn't so much, God there. But I knew it was also in my hand because there was never anybody there that could say, "I'm going to fight for Tola because Tola and myself were the same mom." That bond. When you have siblings, same mom and same dad, there's a bond. That bond is just always going to be there. Do you understand? I didn't have any of that. even though my brother was exceptional, he was, there was no discrimination or anything. My mom did what she had to do to bring us all up, and all that. And until today, we still all, gel together. We are close and all, But then, so I knew that I had to fight to survive. You understand? And that was one of the survival instinct that was put on. Those things, you really never know you had it until you get to those situations. And that instinct kicks up. Do you understand? It's like a fight in a dog. The dog knows that there is a fight in him, but it's not every time the dog kicks it up. But when the dog is back to a wall, that fight comes out. And then you see the dog raging. No matter how small that dog might be, it's the size of the fight in the dog that determines the race. So the dog comes raging and you're saying, whoa. So some of those things for me, it's when I get to those situations that it kicks off. That I say, this, I must survive. I'm not going to allow anyone to put me down. So anyway, we got through that. Now, in Loyola, because it was a fee-paying school, I have this aunt. She's my dad's younger sister. And between her and my dad, I don't know what arrangement they had, but she offered to be paying my school fees, and then she'll give me some allowance. But the truth was that the allowance was just not enough. When I'm going to school, at this point, I started living with my grandmother. Another grandmother now, not my maternal, but my paternal grandmother, my dad's mom. So in turn, really, I think I live with 6 people now. So I started living with her. So I'll go from her house. Our house to my auntie's house was not too far. And my aunt also had a son that was attending Loyola at that time. So when we are told to bring in boarding house clothing, I think we were told to bring 3 each time, 3 sets. But my aunt will make 2 for me. Then that my cousin, the mom will make 5 for him. So he always gave me 1 from his 5, so that I could complete my own quota of 3. Because before you go in, at times they check, you have all the things, so he will give me. Then even the provisions, he always got more, which is understandable, it's his mom, So when we get to school, he takes out of his own and adds to mine, and say, hey, Tola, you need this extra, because he saw everything. Do you understand? I'm a few years older than him, maybe 2 or 3 years. Do you understand? But he saw everything. So and we were in the same class, So remember, like I told you, are we in the same class? No. I was a year earlier than him, senior, 1 year. So, but because I started late, so that was being carried on like that. So he will give me some of that, So we had a bond, me and him. Good guy, we still talk now, Throughout I spent 6 years in Loyola, 5 years in Loyola, 5 years. I was supposed to spend 4 years, but I spent 5 years because I repeated the class. And my dad never came visiting, He never came. My mom never came, but I was okay. My dad had a car and a peculiar registration number that some of the students in the secondary school knew that number, and they knew that was my dad. It was WAB1. That was the registration of his car. It was a black Mercedes. And so each time he will come next door to my school. That next door, he had a cousin that was living there, and he would come and visit his cousin. But he never came to see me, So at times they will have told me that, oh, we saw your dad's car going on the bypass of the school. They were thinking, oh, he's coming to see Tola, And then I said, no, he's not coming here, don't worry. They said, are you sure? We just saw him now. Because when you are in our school and you get to the first floor of a building in the school, I can see my aunt's house. Not the one that was paying those fees, but another, that's my dad's cousin. I can see the house, and I can see the car parked on, so I knew that was where, it was going, Those kind of experiences left very traumatic, whatever, with me, that, oh, you mean somebody could have a son and then you know that this is the school he attends and you come there, it was always coming there, once or twice a month, but it never for once, say, okay, let me even say hi to this young man.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. A huge thank you to Pastor Tola for sharing such powerful and personal stories with us. Stay tuned every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time as we dive into further chapters of his story. Thank you.